Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gabesty here. This is the Heroic Tank Guide for Spoils of Pandaria, and this video is designed to assist tank players with all the basics you'll need to know to get through this fight on Heroic difficulty. Now to begin, there's one basic new mechanic on Heroic, which is the unstable spark spawns. As a tank, you generally won't need to deal with these directly, but you will need to assist your group in dealing with them indirectly, usually in the form of positioning the mobs that you're tanking at the time. So the unstable sparks will spawn every time the opposing group, or the opposite group from the one you're in, kills a set of mobs from one of the crates. So basically every crate that's killed will cause an unstable spark to spawn on the opposite group's side of the room. When an unstable spark spawns, it generally will appear in the middle of the room where you're at. So what this means is that as a tank, when you are able to do so, you should pull the mobs that you're currently dealing with toward the center of the room around where the unstable sparks will appear. So here you can see our tank has pulled the large spawn in the Mogu room, kind of toward the middle, and then unstable sparks are spawning around him so that cleave damage from the tank as well as other DPS players can sort of hit the sparks at the same time that they're dealing with the large mob as you're normally meant to do. So as a tank, that's all you really need to do to focus on sparks. You usually won't need to actually target them and kill them, but when you're tanking the large spawns in particular, and sometimes the mediums as well, try to pull them toward the middle so that DPS can deal with the sparks at the same time. Now the order that your group activates the crates and deals with the mobs from them is very important. So as a tank, you may, or are likely I should say, to be in charge of opening a lot of these crates. You and the healer in particular will probably be in charge of opening the majority of them. So it's important that you have a plan in place for each room that you're going to deal with, and you can figure out which crates you're going to open next and at what time. So the basic way that we did it in our group that worked really well was to combine large crates with small crates and then keep medium crates as a separate entity, and we just spawn things in sort of waves. So you can see the full order that we did for both the Mogu and the Manted room, if you'd like, in the full raid guide in the bottom left there. There's a couple sections that show that in detail, but the basic idea was that we would spawn 2 or 3 small crates at the same time as we'd open a large, deal with all those mobs at the same time, and once those were about dealt with, then we'd do 2 mediums as the next wave, and then after those 2 mediums, do another set of 1 or 2 smalls and then a large at the same time, and then 2 mediums and then 2 mediums. So again, you're never combining mediums plus larges and smalls, but you're doing in total 2 larges, 6 mediums, and 4 smalls. And this will be the fewest number of crates that you can open to actually get the energy you need. So figure out a basic plan before you actually begin the fight of which crates you're going to open in which order and where they're going to be around the room. And this will be much easier for you and your healer partner, most likely, that have to be in charge of opening these. Now finally, some general tips for tanking this encounter on Heroic. So the first thing is to, as mentioned, have a plan for each room before you even begin the encounter. From above, once your group is assigned, look down into the room that you're going to enter and figure out where you're going to start opening crates, in which order, and then your basic path or positions from there, so that you should be able to know roughly, if not exactly, before you even begin the encounter, where you're going to be at any given time, which crates are going to open next, and all that good stuff. This will help you immensely, even if you're not particularly assigned to opening crates, and say your healer is doing it. At least you as a tank will know where to be standing and which mobs will be active next and all that good stuff. The second big thing as a tank is to beware of threat issues. In particular, this can be problematic for spawns that take a little while to activate. So the Pandaren suffer from this a great deal. Even though they actually are active and attackable, they don't always move or activate their threat mechanics right away. So you'll need to stand near Pandaren a little bit longer than you would other mobs, and make sure you have significant threat before you start trying to pull them to different locations. Overall, the best thing to do is to be cautious with your threat and over-threat before you start moving rather than to try to wing it and move too quickly. The rest of your group can take their time to spawn the crate mobs that are coming up next, and as long as you get between the rest of the group and the mobs, even if they run toward the group, you can pick them up on the way there. So it's not a big deal if you don't get initial threat right away. Third is to minimize travel time between crates. So this, again, is all about having a plan and making sure your group knows what they're doing before you even get into the room. But even as a tank, it's important not to move around too much. Now, the exception, of course, as I mentioned, is to pull the larger spawns into the center to help deal with the unstable sparks, once you're not dealing with the small stuff at the same time. But other than that, rough extra travel time, you should always be near the next set of crates that you're going to open when the previous wave is about to die or is just about dead. The next thing would be to quickly move mobs out of Crimson Reconstitution. This is a cast done by the anima golems in the Mogu side of the room, and it creates these red puddles. You're probably used to this on normal, but if not, it causes massive healing for any mobs that are in it. So it's important that as a tank you are aware when this is cast and you quickly move far away so that the mobs are out of the puddle as quickly as possible. If you allow them to heal too much, you're going to lose tons of DPS and maybe not even meet the requirement. Finally, assign healers, if possible, to open the crates for you preemptively. As a tank, you can open them, but typically your healer will be doing less damage and DPS, and therefore is better suited to opening crates. So have your healer know where they're going for the next set of crates, and open them just as the previous set of mobs are about to die, and then you can rush over there and intercept those mobs as they're spawning, pick up threat, and proceed with the next wave like normal. So, I think that covers everything. Overall, it's a somewhat chaotic fight to tank, but once you get used to the positioning and the basic pattern that your group is taking on, you can just repeat it over and over, and it gets much easier from there. So, as always, good luck, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe.